Hey Star Wars fans, welcome to another episode of Star Wars Doctrine. Thanks for being with us. I'm Cody Dastrup. With me as always, Logan Schultz.
Hola.
And today we have a fun little podcast topic to talk to you guys about. We put a recent discussion question out on Facebook, Instagram, as we do, to get some feedback from you guys. And the question is, why was from a certain point of view even necessary?
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
Why did Obi-Wan feel that he should lie to Luke about his father's true identity?
Right. So now, of course, this happens in A New Hope.
Yep.
Luke kind of asks, hey, you knew my father? And Obi-Wan's answer is yes. And rather than saying, yeah, he's my Padawan, we were great friends, blah, blah, he says he was a Jedi Knight, and they were very close. But ultimately, he was killed by a
Darth
Jedi
Vader.
who went bad named Darth Vader. Now,
Yeah.
of course, we do find out, and we get the lovely phrase, that what he told him was true from a certain point of view. But there has to be a reason Obi-Wan lied, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't... There's technically an answer you could be like, well, I mean, when George Lucas wrote it, he was kind of considering Darth Vader to be the ultimate bad guy, didn't need to be Luke's daddy.
Yeah.
And Anakin and Darth Vader were separate personalities. But that's never good enough for us. We need an in-universe.
Universe answer. So it gives a good discussion for us.
Right. So now, one of the answers we saw was on our Instagram over here. I'll pull that up real quick for everybody. It's from Star Wars Archived. Star Wars Archived said, hold on, they disappeared. There it is. Star Wars Archived said, I think the Jedi have always been manipulative, and Kenobi is no exception. He didn't see Luke as a person looking for his dad. Rather, he knew what needed to be done, so he lied to preserve the Republic and, democracy.
For democracy.
It's where his allegiances really do lie. But
There's so much just in that comment.
there is truth in it, for sure.
Yeah, this is about to say, there is partial truth in it. Do I think that Obi-Wan is necessarily manipulative? Not really. I think he's better than most Jedi, and obviously there were manipulative Jedi out there, but maybe there is some truth to the fact that Obi-Wan wanted Luke to be able to stay focused on the right things.
I do think that is a definite part of it, right? I mean,
Right.
It's kind of hard to be like, hey, you know your dad? Yeah, he's that bad guy who's murdering tons of people. That's your daddy.
I'd like to train you to kill him.
Sound good?
Yeah, so
You got time later today?
this guy named Michael on our Facebook says this. He says he didn't want Luke to get to let his emotions get in the way of the mission. And that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is that he maybe was protecting Luke from his own thoughts and his own ideas. Because if you said, hey, this is your father, maybe, Luke's, I don't know. Everything happened the way it was supposed to.
Right.
Because Luke eventually does turn Vader, but back to the light side. But perhaps if he started with that intent of knowing that this was his father, he would have approached it differently. Maybe he would have had an easier time falling to dark side. Maybe it would have been opposite. Maybe, I don't know.
Right. In that crucial moment in Empire, when Luke goes to confront Vader, and Vader's entire purpose is to capture Luke.
Yeah.
It's not to kill him, hence why Vader just kind of toys with him, and the fight isn't hard for Vader at all.
Yeah.
And Luke doesn't just immediately die. He's toying with him, and he's trying to, kind of capture him and safely, or convert him to the dark side.
Get him in carbonite, right? Take him to the Emperor.
And if Luke approached that fight and was like, hey, Dad, this is my dad.
It might have been
totally
different.
It might have been different versus like, hey, I chopped off your hand, but now I'm your dad. like Luke had this whole rage from this, and then it has a shock factor, where maybe if he was going into it, honestly, like, finding out, okay, this is who his dad is, and his dad, honestly, like, probably, Vader's pitch might have been slightly different if Luke was like, wait, are you my dad? And Vader's like, yeah, I am, son, so let me tell you the story of how I met your mother.
Yeah.
It could have been slightly different, and Luke, honestly, I think would have been too weak to really resist Vader at that point if you went into it, if it was, pre-fight.
Yeah.
But I guess a good point is, do you think Kenobi is manipulative as a Jedi? Do you think, like, what Star Wars Archive was saying, is that fit? Like, I mean, I do think there's a point to that. Like you said, like, he didn't want Luke getting distracted, which is definitely manipulative. But
I was about to say, it is sort of manipulative to leave out something that big, right? And Obi-Wan obviously had his reasons for it, and they may have been a little selfish, but also to that same degree, maybe the Force had guided him to say that. Maybe he didn't feel it was the right time yet. Maybe it was because that was for the betterment of the galaxy. And And there is the point, too, and I'll read this comment from Thomas real fast. He says he didn't lie to Luke. He said Darth Vader betrayed him or his father, and that to me represents the inner struggle of Anakin being won over by the dark side. So it absolutely is true, the whole from a certain point of view, as cliche as it is.
Right.
It's true.
It's 100%
Vader
true, really.
did betray who Anakin was as a person, right? It was him making a shift to the dark side that wasn't really... I mean, Anakin was messed up, and he, yeah. So
he had his struggles, but Vader really was almost a spur of the moment choice.
Yeah, and a lot led to there, but I wouldn't say Obi-Wan's trying to manipulate Luke. Well, I don't know. This is hard.
I think something I think
It's
about
an interesting point I haven't
manipulative is
thought of.
negative, right?
Yes.
So generally,
Well,
typically we can argue that the term manipulative has a negative connotation.
Right.
You can't be like, he's my best friend, he's such a good manipulator. That just sounds rude. That's not how you sell your best friend. But Kenobi, when I think something that comes to mind is Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Okay. When Kenobi goes to Anakin and is like, hey, we have a secret assignment, you got to spy on the Chancellor.
Yeah.
He's not, I don't think, manipulative to Anakin at all. I think that's, to me, makes me think Kenobi is not a bad Jedi. He's not one of the Jedi who are lost.
I don't think he is.
Because he comes to Anakin, he's like, dude, we are screwed in this war. Things are going on. We need your help. I don't think this is a good assignment. This is terrible. I don't think it's
right either, you know.
But this is, I think, what we need to do. And I think he's completely honest. And to me, that seems important. If he was like, he doesn't seem to like try and like manipulate Anakin. He's just honest with Anakin.
Right.
And comes at it from, I think, a very realistic perspective, which I think can maybe you can see carry on these 20 years later when he has a similar conversation about Luke needing to do the right thing.
Yeah. Maybe he didn't want to lie to Luke, like you said, but maybe he did feel, hey, this is what has to be done, unfortunately.
Right.
And well, like you said earlier, it's not a great sales pitch to say, hey, I really want you to come and train to be a Jedi because I think you might be the chosen one. So I'm going to train you to kill your dad. Like, it's not a great sales pitch, right?
Right. And then it's
so
like,
come with me.
What happened to my dad? He was a bad Jedi? Yeah. So he used to be super good at Jedi stuff. So you'd probably have an knack for it. But you could also freak out, murder a bunch of kids, and turn super evil.
Yeah, just like he did. Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's also a possibility. It's a terrible sales
Luke's like,
pitch.
yeah, this doesn't sound like
Moisture
the path I want to
farming
take.
is for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Just going to go play that Uncle Omen simulator back on Tatooine.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. I guess, like, I don't know. What about you? What are some of your thoughts?
Okay. I do have an elegant
theory?
Theory
for why you think
that we've discussed. That's how we got to this point. I think a huge part of this is, Cody brought this up. Actually, Cody brought up like hurt. I think
Obi-Wan
you should
being
talk
hurt?
about that because that's such a good point. I feel like I can't go without you talking about that.
So yeah, my thought was just a little bit about how there's a chance that Obi-Wan, I mean, he's been, we'll see in the Kenobi series, but I don't like to think it's sad, but I believe that Obi-Wan's been
That's messed up.
in a lot of pain.
I'd like to think Obi-Wan's just sad and has a terrible life. What?
No, I really think he's been in a lot of pain, nightmares, lots of bad visions, things of just like reliving him having to basically try to kill his best friend and just go through all of that. So part of me thinks that it's part of a coping mechanism for him, just to think like, I knew Anakin, and Anakin isn't capable of this. So this isn't him. This is like some alternative to him taking over, you know? He was consumed and talked into it by Darth Sidious and the dark side of the Force, so I don't really feel like this is Anakin. And maybe that makes Obi-Wan feel a little bit better, because it is sad that you could ever think someone you loved and knew that well, spent so much time with, could be capable of something like that. So I think it's part of a coping mechanism, and him trying to tell Luke that, he probably doesn't like saying those words out loud, saying Anakin turned to the dark side and killed kids and did all these horrible things. He probably doesn't like that sentence, and maybe Obi-Wan couldn't get himself to tell Luke just out of pure sadness and out of pure, like, I don't want to crush this little boy who doesn't know his father just the way his father crushed me, you know? Like, maybe he doesn't want to put Luke through that.
Right. I mean, thinking about Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan is absolutely destroyed. Just completely destroyed by what Anakin does. They go to the Jedi Temple, and I'm sure, honestly, this is something we don't see. Obi-Wan is like, hey Yoda, my clones tried to murder me. And Yoda's like, yeah, something's going on.
Right.
And they're like, crap, we need to go back to Coruscant. We need to figure out what's up. Can you imagine that entire flight? Obi-Wan's probably sitting there going, I haven't got a call from Anakin.
Right,
Anakin hasn't called me.
Right.
Is Anakin dead?
Maybe even tried to reach out to Anakin.
And Anakin didn't answer.
Yeah, that's what I would like to think.
And now he's sitting there going, oh my gosh, Anakin's dead. My brother's dead. And he gets there and he finds out all these people, all these Jedi that he knew, murdered. He sees them all. He doesn't see Anakin. And then he gets to watch a clip of Anakin literally
being the one to do it.
Literally killing probably people he knew.
Going from being sad thinking Anakin's probably dead to, oh wait, that was actually the better alternative.
That this is actually devastating that my best friend could do this. And like they have like kind
Tragic.
of a they have a rocky relationship from being like the, hey, my master wants to replace me with you to like, you know, we're brothers, but I'm the older brother who's annoyed at the little brother.
Yeah.
To the like episode 3 beautiful moments of they're just brothers. They screw around with each other, but they love each other more than anything.
Absolutely.
And then he can't even watch it. He needs to learn probably what's happening in this video.
Yeah, he's like, I can't
But
watch.
he can't. He won't even watch it because it's so hard to see that. And then he's confronted with this idea when he fights Anakin, like what does he do? He's like breaking down, just depressed when he defeats Anakin.
Well, and not to mention, like, and I think you brought this up, right after that, what does Obi-Wan say? He says to Yoda, send me to kill the Emperor.
He's like, yeah, I'll do it.
I can't kill Anakin. Like, let's look at that.
After
Obi-Wan, they've looked through security. They probably know that Mace, Agent Collar, Stacey Tin, Kvisto just got their butts kicked by Sidious.
Right.
They
just
probably
watched
know
3 masters immediately die.
Or if they don't know, they have an idea. My point with that is that Obi-Wan probably knows he doesn't have a great chance against Sidious. Yoda's like, no, you're not powerful enough. That wasn't news to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Obi-Wan wasn't like, really, dude? I thought it was good.
Yeah, Obi-Wan, and he didn't act surprised by that. That's because he would rather go die, have a good chance at dying fighting Sidious than have to go fight Anakin.
Right, and then 19 years later, we learn in a certain point of view, his only visitor for 19 years is literally Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
Which is so cool, but up until the last moment, he doesn't even really get to see Qui-Gon. He's more of like Qui-Gon's there talking to him, but he's basically talking to himself. Right. He's not seeing a person. You know, he probably goes down the cantina.
Eventually, but not
sure.
Like, yeah.
And Owen doesn't want him around Luke. So like he spends 19 years just kind of chilling by himself, just with the last real interaction being leaving his friend for dead.
Y'all gonna make me cry.
And having to just go into hiding. So like he's just tormented. So when Luke's like, "Hey, what happened to my dad?" That wave of emotions, like you said, like maybe he was just too hurt to even say the words. I mean, that's a good point. And then I think my alternative point to that would be, in that exact same frame, with Obi-Wan being like, I can't kill Anakin. And that's not because, hey, I watched Anakin kill people and I don't think I can beat Anakin. He's like, I literally won't kill Anakin. If I have to fight him, I won't kill him. Fact.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to do this because he's my friend. Because of who Anakin is, not who Darth Vader is. Yeah. So maybe separating those, he felt was important for Luke. Because he didn't want Luke to be like, your father was a great person, and this is what he is. He didn't want Luke to be just as distracted as Obi-Wan was when Obi-Wan went to Mustafar and was like, come on, like, we're friends. You know this is wrong. Like, this is your wife. Like, come on, like, wake up. He went to Mustafar hoping to do things like that, right? And at the end, he does what he must, and he can't even finish the job because it's too hard.
Yeah, Obi-Wan, that's a great point, because Obi-Wan probably looks back and goes, man, I could have saved this galaxy from a lot of pain if I had just finished the job. But he couldn't get himself to do it.
Right, he couldn't, leaving Anakin
He probably thought Anakin was going to die.
He was probably messed up, and I'm sure he was like, ooh, that's going to be really painful, but I'm sure he was kind of like, I can't personally do this. Yeah. This is too rough for me to...
He probably regrets that now.
Yeah.
And so that's a good point.
After 19 years, he probably wished he could have closed his eyes and just killed Anakin and maybe saved the galaxy.
Right.
But... yeah, he didn't.
Wow. And I think that's a good point, because you're right. Maybe he didn't want Luke to make that same mistake. He didn't want Luke to have the opportunity to finish Vader or to, do some good for the galaxy and not be able to, because he's like, this is my dad, which ends up happening anyways, right? Like Luke ends up holding on to that, and it works out, and he saves him. But
only literally at the last second of Luke's life again. where Vader mimics the choice Anakin made, just the other way around.
Yeah.
But I think what kind of drives that point home for me is when when Luke is like, "You're wrong. He's my father. There's still good in him. I can change him." Obi-Wan isn't like, "Well, maybe." He's like, "Then the Emperor has already won." That's his phrase.
Yeah.
Is he's like, "If you're gonna fail exactly how I failed,
then there's no hope."
And I think that's so crazy. Is it's like,
because Obi-Wan really believes at this point. In fact, everyone does. Everyone believes he's too far gone, right?
Right. And I'm sure Obi-Wan is honestly like, maybe.
He's got good reason to think that, though.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's like, at the end of the day, the maybe is what screwed us last time.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's kind of like, he probably lies to him, like, one, he's too hurt to say the words, "Your father went down a dark path and I couldn't save him." Because I'm sure he feels so personally responsible. Like, what is it in the Ahsoka Tano novel, right? Obi-Wan feels so responsible for Anakin.
That he goes to Smee's grave and is, like, apologizing. And yeah, absolutely.
So he feels so responsible for Anakin's fall.
Yeah, he
100%.
does.
And then he feels so responsible to the galaxy for not being able to do what he needed to do.
Yeah.
So he's too hurt and he's too emotionally involved. He's like, "Come on, just please, just go kill him. Please, just make this easier for everybody, man."
Yeah, and they really felt like, you know, they probably felt a lot of pressure to say the right things and do the right things because they felt like Luke and Leia were probably the last hopes they had.
Right. So I guess it is manipulative, but part of it could have been self-cowardice.
And maybe out of love, like a parent who doesn't tell their child the full truth of a situation to protect them, or, you know, things like that, right?
Right. It's sometimes hard to explain things when you haven't seen it all, when you don't
understand. Yeah.
I'm sure Obi-Wan himself doesn't understand everything that happened, so like he's like, "How can I explain this to you?"
Right.
We're not even, I mean, like, he knows Uncle Ben, or old Ben, but
yeah.
And he was probably basically like another uncle figure, whereas parental figures were his aunt and uncle. He's probably just like some uncle dude that he kind of talks to sometimes. But how would that be like, "Hey, your father's super crazy dude, killed everyone.
Yeah.
Dad, kill him, please."
Yeah.
Rather than, "This guy took your father away from you." Like, how would you, like, it's just such a hard concept. It'd be like, "So I know we don't talk much, buddy, but let me break some news to you."
Yeah, that'd be crazy. Well,
so is Obi-Wan a bad guy for lying to Luke?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he did it out of love.
Okay.
I really do.
Do you think it would have been better if Luke knew from the start?
That's really hard to say because it worked out in the end, right?
Right.
So I don't know that you could say it would have been better, because what's better than it just working out?
That's fair. I think it's good because I do think like someone was saying, like, when we talked about, I don't think he would have survived Empire if he went and was like, I think he would have fallen to the dark side. I mean, everyone he loved had been taken away from him for the last 3 years, basically.
So maybe he would have been more likely and inclined to go with Vader if he already
if he
had
knew
time
Vader
to think
was
about
his
it,
dad.
had time to. That's possible.
Right, because
that shock factor.
What book is it?
He's not even sure to believe Vader at first when he hears it, right?
Right, because in the, what is it? Is it a book? I'm trying to remember. Maybe it's a story. But when Vader's like, "I'm your dad," and Luke's like, "Bye," right? What goes through Luke's head is he can't accept it so much to the fact that he jumps off because he would rather die
than join Vader,
than be with Vader.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember that source either. It's from somebody. I don't know if it's a Legends book or canon at this point.
But that's what he jumped. He doesn't think, "Oh, maybe he'll jump down a magic slide and."
Yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that's going to work out.
He literally jumps to his death thinking, "I'm not going to be with Vader." Right. Where if he went to that, I mean, I think, you could have processed it. And at the end of the day, we see when Luke processes, "That's my dad."
Then
he does honestly go next to him.
That's kind of true.
And he only fights Vader when his friends are threatened and when Leia is threatened.
It's true.
So I think he would have turned that Empire if he knew who his dad was.
It would have, yeah. It could have greatly affected the story. And like I said, maybe that's why Kenobi felt that he wasn't supposed to tell him yet. Maybe the Force was guiding him. Maybe the Force said it's not his time to find out.
Should Yoda have told him?
Before they saw him zooming off?
In Empire.
Yeah.
As part of Luke's training. I guess.
Maybe they planned on it before Luke was like bailing early. Because Luke does leave early. They're like, "No, you're not ready yet."
And they're like, "Hold on, we have to tell you, like, your dad."
Maybe that was like the very last step of becoming a Jedi in Yoda's mind.
Right.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Maybe that's a new podcast. Maybe that's another.
That's the next podcast. Should Yoda have told Luke Skywalker? Yeah. All right. Maybe that's it. Well, anyways, I don't think Obi-Wan Kenobi's a bad guy, and honestly, maybe he did the right thing.
At least from a certain point of view.
At least from a certain point of view, that is sure. But let us know what you think. Put it down in the comments below. Please hang out with us again sometime soon in the near future. And as always, if you want to be featured on our podcast, be commenting on our Facebook and Instagram, because that's where we get so many great ideas is from you all.
Absolutely.
So may the Force be with you.